This is a special edition of Late Night Health. I'm Mark Alyn. With all the controversy about COVID-19 vaccines and treatments, we thought we'd spend some time with Joe Moscato. He is the CEO, president, and chairman of the board since 2017 of Generex. It's a typical developmental stage biotech company, and we appreciate Joe spending some time with us. Joe, are we close to a vaccine for COVID-19?
Well, thank you for having me on. Are we close? I would say that we're close to getting a vaccine that will offer protection. What degree of protection, we don't know yet, but we are close in getting a vaccine approved, I believe, as well as commercialized, which has its own hurdles in itself. But yes, I believe we're getting close.
And there have been studies, though they're not. I don't know how scientific they are, but anywhere from 50 to 60, maybe even 70% of people polled said that they wouldn't take the first vaccine out there. Would you?
That's a hard question. All of the vaccines that are close to approval now, that are much further ahead of us, are DNA or DNA-derived RNA or mRNA vaccines. So nothing's ever been created with any of those three pathways. DNA or DNA-derived can be a little scary in regards to what it will do with everybody's physiology, which is all different. But me personally, I would wait to see the long-term effects of taking a vaccine and what that is doing to people, over the long term.
Got it. At the same time, you're developing a vaccine, and your methodology, the way you've approached it at Generex, is completely different than most other companies.
Yeah, it is completely different. It's completely different, but it's not that different. So we are an older technology than, say, the mRNA or RNAs, or the DNA especially. And so what we do is we take, where they use the full spike protein, we use fragments of the spike protein. So we've been around a long time. We've been doing this now over 20 years. We've been in all of the pandemics before, to different degrees. Nothing over the finish line, just like everybody else. But we've had really great data in some of our cancer programs, as well as good data in, some of our infectious disease vaccines that we've done before in the past. That, they were pandemic potentials. They never petered out. They petered out, and people lose interest, and money dries up because we're a development stage company. We have to constantly raise money for our initiatives to develop our drugs for those applicational areas. So, for us, we believe we're probably one of the safer pathways out there. That's for sure.
With everything that's happened with the protocols, wearing masks, we're 3,000 miles apart, so we don't need to wear a mask. But wearing masks, 6 feet distancing, social distancing, it seems that it does work. Yet the pandemic here in the United States is like a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, and it goes down. Can you comment on that with your background in biotech?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of what the CDC has put out in regards to social distancing, wearing the mask. The mask is important. I think it's not 100% protection, but for sure it eliminates a lot of the risk. And you have to be vigilant. For sure, it's going to take a while before this pandemic is under control. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, that's for sure. It's going to be with us probably forever. And, the vaccines will start out with giving some form of protection. I'm not quite sure in some of the pathways if that's a good thing, because, there are ramifications with some of these pathways in regard to building up protein, building up the wrong type of antibodies, which there are a lot of those that cause off-target side effects. It's 1 o'clock. As well as autoimmune responses in people. So, the jury's going to be it's going to be out for a while on whether these vaccines will give what percentage of protection, and then as we get better with developing vaccines, the keys are going to be getting the most protection possible, but more importantly, that protection enabling us not to get COVID over and over again, because we need long-term memory. Without the long-term memory piece, which not a lot of folks are talking about in the vaccine development world, I mean, we are, because that's where we've excelled in all of our vaccines. We just came out with our 10-year data for our breast cancer vaccine. The data was very, very good. And we at least proved in breast cancer that we give 10-year good immunity to getting your cancer back once you've gone through frontline treatment.
And with your cancer vaccine, I believe that's for breast cancer?
Yeah, we're in breast cancer, prostate cancer, and then we're moving into bladder cancer as well as melanoma this year.
Got it. And one of the things that happens with cancer, you can be cured, but it can come back. It metastasizes.
Well, that's the big part of all cancer. So you go through, say you have breast cancer, catch it early enough. It's triple negative, where we have fantastic data, and over 90% of all of those breast cancer patients that have gone through frontline treatment that now are cancer free within the first 3 to 5 years will recur. That's always the problem. You get that cancer back, your breast cancer is now in your liver, your kidneys, or in any other organ where it's moved, and that's where it becomes a problem.
A number of years ago, personally, I am afraid of shingles, yeah. And you're laughing because you must be too, right? It's not. I mean, people don't necessarily die of shingles, but they brought out a vaccine. I think it was 30 or 35% effective, and through research and R&D, they have a new one out that's 95% effective. So that's what you're talking about. That kind of.
Well, I mean, that's considerable, move up in protection. So let's look at influenza today. Flu. Flu is now about 37% effective. That means you get about 37% protection. You're still going to get the flu, but unlike flu, which is a completely different virus than COVID. And let's not mistake, COVID is very complex, and it's a killer. I mean, flu is a killer as well, but look at the differences. With flu, you get over flu, you may have the sniffles, you may have a lingering cough until it dissipates completely. You get your flu vaccine each and every year. It's 37% effective. You still get the flu. But once it's over, other than that lingering cough maybe and that lingering sniffles, the problem here with COVID is it's the long-term systemic events that it creates in every system in the body. So like the organs, blood clotting, like the circulatory system, vessels weakened, clogged, looking at brain problems, you're looking at lung problems, respiratory problems. So these are long-term effects even after you get over COVID. Now imagine getting COVID over and over, but you're still not over the systemic events that transpired from the first time you got COVID. Now you're just compounding the problems more and more. And that's why it's important to have a vaccine as close to 100% as possible, because it will get worse each time you get it. You will build up bad antibodies because University of San Diego just came out a big paper not too long ago that after you get over COVID, the body creates 1,800 antibodies.
Wow.
1,791 of those 1,800 antibodies are non-neutralizing. So that
What does
creates
non-neutralizing mean?
non-neutralizing means that it it builds up bad protein in the body where eventually your own immune system will start attacking uh, your own body. So that's where, say, the cytokine storms come into play. And then any number of autoimmune responses or other off targets that could occur with the constant buildup of these 1,791 out of 1,800 antibodies. So there are only 9, that are neutralizing, and that's the problem. And some concern that I have over the mRNA, RNA, and DNA pathways because they use the full spike protein. And utilizing the full spike protein means that those 1,791 bad guys you're getting.
And we just want the good guys.
We just want the good guys. We want the neutralizing antibodies that will not create off targets and hopefully ignite long-term memory. Long-term memory, again, is key, and then neutralizing antibody is key.
One of the things that is different, I believe, about COVID-19 is that you can get it over and over and over again. And each time it can cause additional problems. And the latest study on those who have had COVID-19 is that there are neurological issues that can come up with it. That's scary. That's scary in itself.
Yeah, it's neurological. It's every system in the body gets affected with COVID that they're finding more and more as the data comes in. So you're looking at respiratory problems, cardiovascular problems, heart problems, organ problems, brain problems. So, and they last a long time even after COVID is gone. So imagine getting now COVID again on top of those systemic problems that you're still going through. And then again and again, it will get worse and worse each time. And I think as it's coming out now, and other researchers are saying that, we haven't seen the best of this virus yet.
Let's talk about some of the rumors that are going around about COVID and about vaccines. The one that strikes me as being ridiculous. I'm not a conspiracy person. I never have been. And that's, Bill Gates is going to come up with a vaccine. You've heard the story. And I just want, somebody who's in the industry to make a comment. I mean, that there's going to be nanotechnology so you can be tracked. They'll know everything about you. As soon as you have one of these, they know everything about you anyway. So can you comment on that? The nanotechnology and how it will be detrimental to us. I personally, and I'm just Joe Average here. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think it's possible. And how they could track 300 plus million people here in the United States and the billions in China and India just doesn't make sense to me.
I can't imagine that. One, ethically, I think it's pretty dramatic leap of now we're going to somehow have our own portable EMR systems built into our body by a vaccine. It sounds very futuristic to me. If that's really what Mr. Gates wants to do, I really can't believe that would be even on the minds of anybody as being an ethical practice.
We also talked about some of the preservatives that are used in vaccines, like the flu vaccine, mercury derivatives. Will the Generex vaccine have any mercury derivative or mercury in it?
No, no, no. A lot of the older, years gone by, vaccines had, uh, mercury-based formulations that have gone, ingredients that have gone into vaccines. We've, the vaccine world is totally, you know, leaps and bounds from those times. You know, we don't put anything in our vaccines. We've already established that we're safe and effective. Big thing for us is that where everyone else had to do animal studies for toxicology, because we've been in the business so long, the same pathway, the same technology, the FDA just agreed with our package that we put in their response back to us, that they agree that we don't need to do animal toxicology, which saves a company like ours 6 months and a lot of money to do that. And that's only because we're safe and effective, and all the things we've done in the past up to the point of where it was in its development. So we never got anything across the finish line, just like everybody else. But, we have a seasoned, robust platform that has shown good results.
And one of the things, one of the other things that I think about in regards to the distribution of vaccines, I'm going back to the early 50s, okay, mid 50s or early 60s, when we had, polio vaccines. Those were all based, I believe, on egg whites, a lot of them. And that I don't know what kind of preservatives there was in there, but it seemed to be a safer time for vaccines. People are having reactions to all of these vaccines, primarily because of the mercury or mercury derivatives.
Well, in the past, that has occurred. I'm not quite sure that that's the reason why people are getting off-target side effect or any of the mild to extreme side effects from taking the vaccines that are in phase 2 and 3 right now. Mm-hmm. But I believe, yes, the old way we used to grow a vaccine in chicken eggs, and there was problems with that. It takes a long time, and then even one vaccine that was developed for one of the pandemic potentials of the past, the eggs got infected with the virus. So, I think we've gone a long way since those days. Again, the jury's out on who's going to have a real solution. And again, for me, the solution is not just giving protection, because this virus is so bad. And the long-term effects of this virus getting it are just so bad, unlike anything that we've had to deal with. So for me, it's all about long-term protection, because you can't get a vaccine over and over and over, building up these proteins, building up these bad antibodies that can create these off-target side effects in people, built up over and over again. And then on top of it, getting COVID over and over again, which is just setting up for a perfect storm of this virus really taking it to another level, a level that we haven't seen yet.
In our remaining couple of minutes, let's talk about Generex and the FDA. You guys have had some good news, and tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we put our vaccine package in, pre-IND package in to the FDA. We had a full response by the panel. It was a great response. Most of the questions derived around manufacturing. For instance, to give you an idea, most of the vaccines in the RNA, mRNA, DNA pathways have to deliver it either at -4 degrees, frozen, or -40 degrees plus.
Wow.
Frozen. So, I don't even know how you do that, to get mass populations vaccinated. You send this -40 degrees centigrade freezer with, 10,000 vials. It becomes very costly. There are other problems with, that frozen version or that minus 40-degree frozen version where, you know, how do you deliver it? You know, God forbid it doesn't get delivered in time. Is the vaccine batch gone? And it's no good at that point. So with us, you know, we're right now developing a waffleized version, which is room temperature. And even if it's not, we can't get a waffleized version. We're at least hoping, like all of our others, it will be refrigerated, and at best, liquid version, which will be room temperature. So that in itself for us, on the utility of a vaccine, if it's approved, then our delivery, our distribution is so much easier and safer and more expedient than everybody else.
That is terrific. The other thing that just popped into my head is that over the years, since Louis Pasteur has scraped cowpox and the actual pox and put it into humans, it's the technology has changed. Is it rapidly changing almost on a day-to-day basis in biotech?
Well, I mean, you know, it's just like anything. There have been so many pathways that have gone before. You know, you go. It's like any field. Let's look at immunotherapy. 18 years ago, 15 years ago, it was out of favor. It was billions of dollars that went into cancer immunotherapy programs, many different pathways, and you know, pathway gets hot. You know, maybe 20 companies get involved in clinical trials. The hope is there. The indications look great, and then it just doesn't get approved, and billions of dollars have gone into that drug development or that pathway development. And then it gets cold. And then people move on to the next great pathway. So there's constantly new pathways being developed. You have to go through the pathway in different applications. If it doesn't work, then obviously it gets cold, that pathway. And then maybe someone comes along with that older pathway that's on the shelf that's not as hot anymore and figures out what went wrong with why it didn't work. But more importantly, figures out how to get a response with that pathway. And that's kind of where we are. Where our IIT technology is the same, whether it's cancer, whether it's infectious disease. We pick from the virus. We don't use a full spike protein. We pick the best epitopes that give the best coverage, that will give the best safety after a full analysis of the whole spike protein. And then we link our IIT technology to that, which makes it about 250 to 1,100% more effective, more homologous, more immunogenistic to people. So, I believe that we offer a really good solution to what's going on in COVID, not only from the off-target safety areas, but the long-term immunity potential.
Joe, when do you expect your vaccine to be ready, and will there be trials, or are you in trials now?
No, what we're doing right now is we're doing all the blood screenings with two big labs, University of San Diego, their Infectious Disease Institute, one of the best in the country. They're doing all of our assay work with human blood patients that had gotten COVID, they got over it, and then they give us their blood. And then we're able to test for any off targets. We're able to test for neutralizing antibodies, which is the key. And then we're able, with CTL, the great lab that we're utilizing, they're doing all the blood screens, they're able to test the 33 key peptides we made. And then hopefully we'll get, which we've already started getting results 2 days ago. We're getting great results, great positive hits on about 1/3 of the peptides that we've already tested out of the 33. We should have more good data coming in today and Monday. And once we have all that, then we can put our 3 to 5 key peptides that will give the best result from efficacy to safety to any potential off-target side effect. We'll be able to have a B-cell epitope, which is the humoral side of our vaccine, because we're a complete vaccine. We not only offer antibody side, which everybody's doing, but we offer a focused, targeted CD4, CD8, and T-cell activation, which gives us a complete vaccine, which we'll have all completely tested, and we'll have our formulation of the product, which then we will add to that pre-IND FDA package that we already submitted. We got great responses with, and then we put our IND package in for approval. We should get into clinic on the phase 1 probably December, January of this year.
And just that secondary pathway, if you will, that helps the body fight, does it not?
I mean, the long-term immunity.
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's the key. We're working on the hope of being able to vaccinate people once, and then you don't need another vaccination for a minimum of 3 years. Could be as good as 5. And if it's anything like our breast cancer results, 10 years, I'm hoping 10 years. So that's the key. For me, getting vaccine over and over and over again for COVID, I think, is setting up the country as well as the world up for calamity later on.
Joe, we're out of time, but I appreciate you and would love to talk to you again when you have some updates. Okay, so end of November, beginning of December, I expect a call, and we'll do something. Joe Moscato has been our guest. He's the CEO, president, chairman of the board of Generex, and you're based in Florida.
Near Moscato.
Got it. Joe, thank you very much. Hang in there for just a moment. I'm Mark Alyn. This is Late Night Health.